bittersweet training. When I say that, I get excited because I get to see some people that I've got to train for many years, but then it's kind of sad because summer's over. But anyways, thank you for what you do. This training is required, so we'll go over the medication, but we'll make sure we meet with you individually afterwards. And then after that, we'll do some bloodborne pathogens, we'll touch on that, and then we'll talk a little bit about CPR, okay? Not a whole lot, but just to make sure you know what to do in those situations. How many of you are new bus drivers? Raise your hand. Okay. How many years has been here for about 5+ years? Okay, good deal. So at the end, when we break off, I've got different groups that will break up, and so we can kind of meet, so we meet your needs and your level of experience. I have been noticing I've got a little trouble with this PowerPoint, and I'm sorry, it's purple. Don't know, I guess it's the bulb, so just bear with me, and we'll get through it. Welcome to the, and it's not going to do it. There we go. This training has been developed by Kentucky Department of Education and Public Health and Kentucky Board of Nursing. Okay, I say that to let you know this is a state training. Okay, how we present it in different districts, that's up to them. We choose to do you all as a group, and if you had to do it individually, it is open book. Okay, so don't feel like, oh my goodness, this is a big thing. It is, but each district can do it different. So if you talk to other districts, they have to go through this as well. There are state laws that holds on to this, and you're like, okay, why am I going through this training? How many years ever had like an EpiPen or has had daily medication that's had Diastat, any kind of emergency medicine on their bus? Raise your hand. It should be most of you. So the goal is to let you know how to act on those situations and to just make sure that you're covered on how to handle those situations and how to protect that child and protect that bus and protect yourself, okay? There's nothing, this is made to be trained people that are not medical people. So guess what? It's designed to be simple, okay? You can overthink things, and that's the goal, is to not overthink things. We'll go over some questions just to see where your knowledge base is at the end of the course, if I can get my clicker to work. And then this goal, you're going to be trained, it's only good for 1 year, and then we'll go into some details from that. All right, so who goes through this training? Anybody that deals with kids. Okay, so yes, school teachers has to go through it. Do I have any school teachers in here right now?
They'll be here tomorrow.
Okay. Well, they'll have to do this on their own, okay? They get this at their opening day at school, so they will be going through this at their school, okay? Do I have any assistants in here? No? Okay, all right.
We have plus one.
Just this one, okay, good deal. So, I'm a registered nurse. The nurses that's in the back, they're registered nurses, okay? That means that we can take a doctor's orders and delegate and talk to you how to administer that medicine, okay? Now, can a parent just come up to you and say, this is Johnny's medicine, this is how you administer it? Legally, they're not supposed to, okay? They probably will still do it, but if they do, you just go to your school, find your nurse, and that nurse will talk you through it, okay? Just know, if the parent ever tells you how to do something on medicine, go to a school nurse, go to a nurse to talk to you, okay? So who can delegate to you? A doctor can delegate to you, a nurse can delegate to you, a nurse practitioner can delegate to you, okay? Can a parent delegate to you? Can a school teacher delegate to you? No, okay. So that's very important to know. How long is this delegation good for? For 1 year. It expires June the 30th, okay? Okay, we all got to cover a little bit of laws. How many of your knows has heard about FERPA? Okay, Family Educational Privacy Act. All right, so what does that mean? If you're sitting waiting for the kids to get out of school and you're sitting outside, and you're just talking about different things. Can you talk about what's on your bus and what kind of medicines they're on, or if they, no, it's only on need-to-know basis. So as a bus driver, if you're absent for a day and you got a sub, then guess what? You can't talk to that sub driver about that bus because that's a need-to-know. They need to know if Amy has EpiPen. They need to know that. But to talk to your friend that's driving the other bus, you don't need to discuss that. If you're at the grocery store and you talk about to other people about, no. If you've got a neighbor that says, oh yeah, little Johnny has this medicine, you can't talk to them because little Johnny is not their kid, okay? So remember, there's laws that's out there, okay? So only need to know basis. That's just the same stuff that I'll talk about. Who can prescribe medicines? Nurses cannot prescribe medicines, only doctors and nurse practitioners and physician's assistants and dentists, okay? So if you think somebody needs something, if you come to a school nurse, they're going to say, no, I can't prescribe that. But I tell you who can, go to the doctor and they can prescribe that. But no, we cannot prescribe. But what can we do as nurses? We can delegate, okay? So we take that doctor's orders and then we talk to you and we delegate. And when we say that out of kindness. We say, this is how you take care of so-and-so. Do you have any questions? What concerns do you have? Anytime you have concerns, please express that to the nurses because guess what? We don't know what your concerns are until you mention it. Okay, so if you've got a kid and you're concerned about their health, about their medicine, you talk to us. We will work it out. We are not on the school bus. We don't know how the situation is. If we need to get on the school bus and you show us where they sit, we'll work with you. Okay? So remember, you have questions, who do you go to? You go to the school nurse. If you cannot find the school nurse, go to the principal. The principal will find us and we will be glad to sit down and talk with you. Okay? There is such thing as a licensed practical nurse, an LPN. We don't have them in our schools, but they cannot delegate a nurse. It has to be an RN. That's why our schools focus on having RNs. Okay. Again, this right here just talks about there is more laws on delegation, and we have talked about that and plenty. If you have any questions on delegation, who you can accept the medication training from, again, is an RN, not a parent. But you can always talk to the parent. Don't be rude to them. Just say, okay, well, I'll talk to the school nurse about it. Anytime that you see that there's and this is what we tell teachers and people in the office, if there's ever an error occur, do we hide it? Do we put it under the rug? No. We go straight to our principal, and then once we go to the principal, we go straight to the parent. We always admit anytime that we make an error or we're not really sure we've done something correctly. There is a form at the end whenever you get done doing the training. The nurses will have that, and it does say that you accept delegation. Again, ask questions. If you have questions, we're not going to train you on everything. We're going to train you on the basics, the only thing that you're going to deal with on the school bus. And if you don't feel comfortable with it, don't sign it. We'll talk to you through it. We want you to feel comfortable. And I think out of all the years that I've done this, I've never had anyone decline it. It's just more of, can you talk me through it? And we talked about confidentiality and privacy. It's only a need to know. If a student tells a school personnel how they feel about having a chronic health condition, this information should be shared with the school nurse, but not to disclose to those who do not have a need to know. So you don't talk about it anywhere else. Other legal considerations, all school, we have policies and procedures on how to get school medicines to school, how we check medicines in. All medicines have to be checked in at the front office. Even if the kid is able to carry it, we still got to know that in the front office. We got to know what's in our school buildings. We got to know what's on our school buses. Each school district employee administering medication should be familiar, and we go over these policies. That's pretty much what out. Prescribed medication. There's several things that when you look at prescribed medication, it's going to be in what? The right container. It cannot be just in the Ziploc bag with little blue and white pills in it. It's got to be in the proper container. So let's just say Wednesday, you're on the first day of school, kids get on the bus, and Santa gives you a bag that's a Ziploc bag that has little white pills in it, and they say, Johnny's got to take this at 12 o'clock today. Just politely say, ma'am, I'll need you to take that to school. It's not in the proper container, okay? To call the school, and then the school will work with you on that, okay? Why is that? All medicine's got to be in the proper container. It's got to have their name on it. It's got to have when they take it, what they're taking. It's got to have everything on it, who prescribed it. It's got to have all of that. I recommend, now it's not district, it's not required, but we recommend all medicine be brought by a parent to school. Now, how many parents are probably at work at 6:30 in the morning and you're sitting there and it's just a kid? We've got to meet those accommodations. So what is that accommodation for those kids that ride the bus and their parents are not there? How many of you have ever had to deal with medicine on the bus? What's the way to do that? Go ahead.
You put it in the envelope, filled with paper, and the kid hands it to you, and you hand it to an adult at school.
You're right, exactly. Is again, they have the proper medicine in a sealed envelope, okay? And it has all the information that needs to be on there. Kid's name, how many is supposed to be in there, if it's 10, 20, whatever. That the kid is to give it to the bus driver, then the bus driver will give it to the adult at school, okay? That adult at school will give it to the school nurse, okay? Or whoever's taking medicines in at that time, okay? So that is one way of getting medicines there. But we do recommend first time, that parents bring it in, we really push it for open house. But again, if parents are working, we want them to work, and if they're going to be there by 6:30 and you're not there by that time, guess what? We've got to make some kind of accommodation to get these kids to school, okay? What about, have you ever had a kid that's carried their EpiPen on them? Kids can carry their EpiPen, but when you have questions about that, we need to talk, because if they're a certain age, they're able to carry their medicine. There's a form that needs to be filled out that says they can carry it, okay? But again, sealed envelope, medicine, submitted that way. Nurses at school, what we do, if there's like 2 or 3 days that they've got left of medicine, we'll call the parents, try to give them a heads up. So maybe during lunch or something, they can come and bring extra pills. Because our goal is to have very, very few times medicines on the bus. But we've got to make those accommodations if they are. Oh, yes.
If they bring the EpiPen, are they know how to administer it themselves, or what's the deal with that?
What,
If they have the EpiPen, I guess they know how to do it themselves, or does the bus driver?
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Right now, because I don't want to take too much time, great question, and we'll get to that, okay? This is just how to get the medicine on the bus, and then sometimes you might find that they'll have an empty pill bottle on the end of the day. What does that mean? That means that they're taking it home, mom's going to fill it up, they're going to bring back the medicine in the envelope. Yes, sir?
Never did say if they come back there and mom went there and they hand you a bag of pills and said, I'm going to take you. Where we do them pills? We can't send them back in. We're going to take them to school.
You can take them, they just, because you got to get that kid to school. You don't want to send them back in the home. So if they just have a bag of pills put in there, make sure you put, we know where the stop was, who the kid is, what the kid said, because that will need to go and be handled by the principal, especially if there's not another adult around.
If that happens, okay, so let's just take a scenario. If you have a kid that comes on their bus, okay, if you have a kid, let's just deal with that right now. I thought we got through there. This happens sometimes on our buses. We'll get a student that gets on the bus in the morning and they bring back a deal for them. Okay, it's not in a container or anything like that. It's not labeled. So what do you do with that? Okay, because we're not supposed to take that, right? Okay. That's not the proper way, but we have a child on the bus, we can't send them back in the building, back to their homes. So go ahead and take that medication, secure it. When you get on the ramp, call for dispatch, or call one of the principals over, one of the teachers, and say, this is Johnny's medicine, he gave it to me like this, just give me a heads up, I secured it, and they will deal with it. Go ahead and transport them though, okay? Let's get them to school, let the medicine's safe, because, you don't know what these kids at home, their parents are at work, or whatever, what they're bringing. It may not even be their medication, okay? They may have got in mom's stash, or mom's pills and brought them in. So just secure it, take it, notify dispatch, the principal on the ramp, or whatever. But go ahead and bring them on, secure that medication. If it becomes a recurrent problem, then get with us. Either myself, Marshall, or Victoria, and we will call the principals and get this situation dealt with. But go ahead and take that medicine from them, secure it, let us know. We'll get to the principals, or you let the principals know. Does that answer any more questions about what to do if they bring it on? There's another question about if a child's carrying an EpiPen. She's going to get to that in a minute. Can they administer it themselves? She'll get into that in just a second, but that was a good stop. Thank you. Questions?
All right, we'll roll with it. So when it comes to administration and stuff, we'll get to all of that when we get to that point. But just know when you see medicines, it's going to be in the proper container, it's going to have the right name, it's going to have everything that's pertaining to that child. And you know how to secure medicine, but we never send a kid back, we never leave a kid by themselves. We just take them because they're going to be safer hands at school. And again, we've got to make sure that we have medication safeties. We teach people that whenever there's changes in medications, if a parent says, hey, we are changing their medicine, just say, you know what, we'll just call the school and then they'll take care of it at school, okay? That's the best thing to say. You know what, call the school so you can talk to the school nurse, and then the school nurse will take care of it, because there is certain paperwork, there's certain things that we have to look at. Do you need to look at that? No. It's the school that needs to look at it. But just to let you know, there is paperwork that needs to be done on anything that you do in school anyways. But your goal is to get them to school safety. The school will take care of the paperwork. But there is paperwork that needs to be done, but you can just tell them that. Nurses can only accept medication orders as prescribed by physician. So if a parent tells the nurse, hey, they really just increased his medicine, so you need to do it this way. We say, we got to do what the doctor's orders, you get us some new doctor's orders, and we will do that. So again, we cannot accept requests from parents. Storage and disposal of medication. Emergency medication should never be behind a locked door. Should never be behind a locked door. Why is that? Why would you not want emergency medicines behind a locked door? You can't get to it. That would be awful trying to find a key, right? To try to get to someone's life-saving medicine. So again, that's one of the questions. Emergency medicines never behind a locked door. And preferably the medication should be with the student at all times. Why is that? Because if it's emergency, you've got to have it right then. How are you going to explain to the parent, well, we kept it on the school bus, which you can't do, or we kept it here, you can't do that. It needs to be with the student. And if the student's a kindergartner, guess what? It needs to be with that teacher, whoever is responsible with that kid. How are you going to explain that during a lockdown, fire drill, so forth? I cannot get to that inhaler. I couldn't get to this because it was at point X when you're at point A. So, and there is laws that say if a kid needs to have their emergency medicines on them, they need to have it on. We just have to make those accommodations. How do you dispose of old medicine? Do you pour it down? Do you put it in the toilet? Do you put it in the sink? No. And where would you put it? You can use like cat litter, you can use used up coffee grounds. We usually take it to the sheriff's department and they'll dispose it for us. And that's just part of the emergency question. Field trips. How many of you loves field trips? Daisy, do you love field trips? Oh, as nurses, we love them. Not really. So let's let you know a little bit about field trips. If you know you're going on a field trip, the nurses need to know because there's a lot of planning behind the scenes, just like for you all, okay? Because if there's kids that's going to have medicines, they can't just take a whole bottle of their daily medicines. They have to have a separate bottle with one pill in it, okay? Because if something happens and that medicine gets lost, then we got to try to figure out how to replace 10, 20 tablets, okay? So there's a lot, and parents, it's hard sometimes at the beginning of the school year to get a bottle with an extra label on it. So if you know you're going on a field trip and you're taking somebody, go to your school nurse so they know, so we can be prepared. So these kids that need their Ritalin, their ADHD medication, you want them to have it when they're on these field trips, I'll just tell you. There's a lot of planning behind the scenes, okay? You don't have to worry about it if you know about a field trip. Let the school nurse, because there's a lot of planning that people don't realize that we have to do. And there's a lot of legal stuff we have to make sure we're covered. Any questions? Can a kid refuse medications? Anytime that a kid refuses to take something that they are needed and it's prescribed to them, you always let the supervising school nurse know. If it looks like it's a discipline, the school nurse will talk to the principal, and we always consult with the parent afterwards. But your first person of contact, anytime you're dealing with medicines, is who? The school nurse, okay? If you've got questions about medicine, who do you contact? The school nurse, okay? If you can't get hold of the school nurse, then you always go to your principal, okay? Refusing medication is not considered a medication error. When a student refuses medication, the school nurse and parents should be notified as soon as possible. Here is when it's a medication error. If you're giving the wrong medicine to the wrong person, to the wrong dose, the wrong time, wrong way, wrong student, and you're failing to document. Anytime that a medicine is given, there is documentation. If you do anything, what do you got to do? You got to document. If you don't document, you didn't do it. We always tell them to check labels, so if you're administering emergency medicine, take that second to look at that label, okay? And we'll get into that. Anytime that you're administering medicines, always, like, okay, if you're going to administer an EpiPen or something like that, you know, when you see the name, you'll say, okay, is your name Amy Sams? Yes, okay. And then we like a picture ID that we do at school, but guess what? You're not really going to have that, but no, you always want to have two identifiers. When you give medicines to make sure you give it to the right person at the right time with the right dose. So, anytime we have an error, we sometimes end up calling boys to control, and then we give them some information. You all know it. You can, but always know that that's something that the nurses does. Okay. Again, these are all the different things that we got to have on prescribed medication administration at school. We got to make sure we have the name, date, prescription number, all of that. Okay, we got to know what's recommended for storage. We'll get into storage requirements here in a little bit. Anytime that you administer, severe adverse reactions should be treated as emergency, and unlicensed school personnel should be familiar with school district policies. So anytime you see an adverse reaction, the first thing you want to do is call 911 and call the school nurse. And we'll get into more of the emergency situations here, but these are just things we have to cover. Okay, emergency medications. Here we go. How many years had emergency medicines on the bus? I know we talked about medicines in general, but how many years had emergency medicines on the bus? Okay, well, this might be your first year. I know last year was kind of an off year. We didn't have a lot of our kids at school that needed to be at school, so our medicine counts and everything is a little different. But emergency medicines, that's one medicine we can train you all on how to administer. And guess what? It's an emergency, so it's not designed to be complicated, okay? It's designed to have 1 to 3 steps, okay? And for you to be able to know who who to call. Who would you call? Not Ghostbusters, you're gonna call who? You're gonna activate 911, okay? So however that is, that you do for the bus situation, okay? So that they contact and dispatch, because you wanna get 911 to you, okay? And then second, you're going to administer the medicine, and 3, you're gonna stay with that kid,
Let
okay?
me say this. Don't worry about if there's a, okay, so if you have an emergency on the bus and you think, okay, you should know if you have a child that has emergency medication on the bus. At some point, if you have that, a principal, a counselor, somebody that deals with emergency plan at the school would come to you and say, you got a diastat on your bus, you got an EpiPen on the bus. Okay, just know that that kid should be sitting up toward the front, okay, somewhere you can get access to them quickly. But if you think that somebody has been stung with a bee, for example, call dispatch, let us know. We had that, I think, last year, didn't we, Marshall? Okay, the kid ended up not being stung, it was a bug or something, but don't worry about causing a scene. Go ahead and call dispatch, say, I've got a student that's allergic. Go ahead and roll dispatch, we'll get them there, and one of us will be there quick too. So don't worry about that. Call it in, let's get them stopped, let's check on them, and then we'll roll from there. And it kind of goes into what you're talking about.
So emergency medications, they're short acting for one thing. When I say short acting, once it's administered, it's only going to last for a short time, the medicine is, okay? That help is only going to last for a short time. And hopefully it will fix it. If it doesn't, that's another reason why you want to call 911. It's better to act on caution. And so if you have a kid that has an emergency medicine or is having an emergency situation, activate, get help, okay? And then get your bus to a safe situation and then check on that kid. If you know they have these emergency medicines, just like Todd just said, get them too close to you, okay? I know you probably have some disciplines and stuff like that's going to sit in the front of the bus, but you also need to have your emergency medicines close to you. Why is that? You just have eyes on to be able to activate when you need to quickly. So the medicines, there are some new medicines that's out there. I remember when I first started talking, we only had 3 medicines that we trained you on. And that was an EpiPen, a diastat that we all kind of like, oh my goodness, and glucagon. And I remember saying, if they would just make it more simple, well guess what? That's what they're doing. They're making things more simple to where you don't have to pull down pants or anything like that, okay? But I'm going to say this, not all of those new medicines is cheap. How many years ever had to get a new medicine and it's very expensive? It's there, okay? So just because, and maybe an Auvi-Q, the one that talks to you, is probably the one you would love to have, doesn't mean it's going to be cheap for that family, okay? So we can never tell them, hey, you need to get this one, okay? That has to be between them, the doctor, the pharmacy, and their insurance, okay? So don't make judgment on them because, yes, I'm sure they would love to have certain devices because it would be easier, but easier is not always cheaper, okay? But guess what? Diastat, what do we get Diastat for? Anybody remember what Diastat is given for? For seizures, and that's the one you have to pull down their pants and administer as a suppository. Well, now they've got medicine that they have approved that can be squirted in the nose. That's much better, isn't it? But guess what? It's not very cheap. The glucagon, the one that you have to use by a needle and you inject it, guess what? They now have it where it goes by nose. But again, it's not cheap. So, when parents, we talk to them as nurses, hey, this is out there, have you talked to the doctor? 9 times out of 10, they say, well, my insurance won't cover it. So, we got to deal with what they have, okay? So that's our goal, is to train you on that. All right. Any questions on emergency medicine? So anytime you get emergency medicine, or if you feel like you're going to get it, who are you going to call? You're going to activate 911, okay? So you're going to call dispatch and say, I'm such and such here, I need 911 for such and such kid, okay? Or however you do that on the radio. And then you're going to give the bus to the safety situation, and you're going to check on that kid, okay? And act upon how you've been trained. And that's what today's all about. So we're going to talk about low blood sugar, diabetics. How many here has ever had a diabetic on their bus? Okay. Morning route? And afternoon? Okay. So the goal about, if anybody's going to have a problem, and I'm going to say this, if they're going to have a problem on your bus, it's going to be a diabetic at 7 in the morning, okay? And why is that? They haven't eaten breakfast, they probably went ahead and gave her insulin because they're going to eat breakfast at school, which is completely wrong. They just don't know where their blood sugar is. So what we call a 504, when we sit down and meet with the family and have meetings, we always try to say, if they're riding the bus in the morning, can we make sure that they've ate and had their blood sugar? Text us so we know if you need, if something needs to be done. Because if they're going to go low, they're going to go low in the morning. Because we try to fix them before they get on the bus in the afternoon. Okay, and I'll get into that. So diabetes, there's several different types. The ones that we worry the most about is called type 1 diabetes. Totally different than type 2. Okay, type 1, they can eat whatever they want to. They're going to get covered by insulin. Okay, so just to let you know that their pancreas all of a sudden just says, hey, you know what? I'm done. I'm not making any more insulin. So guess what? We have to give them insulin. So a diabetic, if they don't have enough, if their blood sugar is low, then guess what? You got to feed them. You got to do that mama mentality. You got to give them that 15 grams of sugar and so forth. So what are some signs and symptoms of a low blood sugar? Anybody? Get cranky. Yeah, that's what we'll be meeting with you guys. What else? They start to space out. That's me all the time now. But no, they do. They kind of get spaced out. You can see them kind of staring off. They might get sweaty. They might get a little sick to their stomach. Have you has ever heard of the word hangry? You're hungry and you're shaky and you just get angry. Okay, that's kind of like what a low blood sugar is. So a low blood sugar is typically below 70. Okay. Kids that are diabetics, they will have many things on them, okay? They should always have a blood sugar checker, which we call a glucometer. They should have their glucagon or their life-saving medicine, and we'll get you trained on that. And then they might have their insulin on them. It depends on how their device and how their plan is set up. If you have a diabetic on your bus, please get with your school nurse so you can talk and we can go through. The counselor, there's a plan out there on them. Can they drink water? They can drink water if their blood sugar is high. That's why you want them close to the front, okay? So you all can make those accommodations. Be part of those meetings if you can. So again, a low blood sugar is what? They can be angry, they can be sweaty, they can be a little spaced out. They can get to all of a sudden they have like slurred speech because they cannot really talk really good. Okay, so if someone has some of those symptoms, how would you treat that? If they can talk to you, you want them to eat. What would you want to feed them? You want them pure sugar, okay? So that's like maybe gummies, that could be soft mints, that can be sweet tarts, it can be, packs of honey, so any of that. Those diabetics should have those snacks on them. That's not your responsibility, but just know, if they're feeling low, that's how you fix it. If you don't fix it, what's going to happen? They're going to keep on going down. And when they go down, they're going to go down. They're going to not be able to talk to you. They're going to pass out. Okay? Then guess what? You've got a whole other thing that you're going to have to deal with. You're going to have to activate 911. You're going to have to get the bus over to the side, and then you'll have to administer the emergency medicine, okay? There is two different types of emergency medicine now. One is a glucagon injection, okay? And that's one we've trained many times. The new one is the one that you put in their, squirt into their nose, okay? It's a powder that will activate and it will go into their nose. Much better, but again, we got to deal with whatever the parent gives us, whatever their insurance gives us. So, the glucagon, the trainers usually come in a white case, but they might be a red case. You'll have a pharmacy label on it, okay? It'll have their name. There is certain things that school nurses look for. We look for paperwork, we look for expiration dates, and we just make sure it's correct. All right, so what is the next thing that I do? If I've got someone that needs to glucagon because their blood sugar is low and they cannot talk, what I want to do, I want to get them talking to them. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to have to give them some emergency medicine. Inside the container, you'll have a syringe with a needle that has sterile water in it. The other one is a little vial that has a little powder in it, okay? So how am I going to get this into this? How am I going to get the vial of medicine into the syringe? I'm going to have to take the cap off the syringe, take the cap off of the glucagon vial, right? Now, what am I going to do? Got to put the needle, this is all made, put the needle and I slowly push the medicine or push the clear into the powder. Now, this is the part you want to leave the needle inside of the vial. Why is that? Because you don't want to stick yourself, okay? It's easy that you can stick yourself, so we want to decrease that chance. So keep that needle inside that vial, and you'll swirl. Kind of mix it up, don't shake it, just kind of swirl. Once you've got it mixed up, what are you going to do? You're going to slowly try to pull that plunger back, which is the gray, and you're going to pull back and you're going to try to suck that medicine into that syringe. Okay? It might be kind of not clear, it might be a little milky color, but that's just the coloration that it gives you. Eventually it'll turn clear. Alright, once you pull up all that medicine, what am I going to do then? Because now I'm going to need it, so I'm going to be careful, okay? If I've got a needle, because I don't want to give this needle to anybody else but that person, right? Well, you got to be careful with that, because if you pull it and try to get the air bubbles out, you can lose your medicine, okay? So this is one time, you don't want a lot of air in there, but you just want to try to get just that medicine, and you want to get it into that individual. So that could be the back of the arm, that could be, at their abdomen area. If they've got shorts, you can even do it to their thigh. And just try to get this medicine into them, okay? When you push it in, that needle goes all the way into that skin, okay? So you should never see any part of that needle exposed out. It should be all the way in. And then what do? You slowly push that plunger of medicine in. Think about it. They're either unconscious, they could be having a seizure, because they cannot get that blood sugar up. They cannot eat, so you're giving them an injection. You're saving their life, okay? You don't do this, they're not going to make it. So once that medicine's in there, what do? Take this out. You directly put this in that hard box, which should be right next to you. And you close it up, okay? The reason why this box is hard is to keep that needle from poking. The reason why the box is hard is to keep that needle from poking anybody else, because it's already been used on that individual, okay? So once you put that medicine into their body, and you put that needle into the box, what position would you want them to be lying in? A sideline position. That's the best position anytime someone doesn't feel good or that's feeling sick to their stomach, it's in an emergency situation. If you can get them in a sideline position, that's the best way, okay? is a long time for them to start regaining consciousness, to start coming back together, okay? Now, you administer this medicine, you're on the bus, 911 gets there, what do? You hand that box that has that used needle and said, it's got a used needle in it. I gave it to them at 2:05, and if you just answer whatever questions they have, and they'll take off with the kid, okay? If the ambulance and the parent both get there, you let the parent ambulance, you do that situation how you normally would, okay? Parent can show up, but we want them to go by ambulance because they need to. What will happen, they'll get checked out, they probably will eat something, and they'll be fine, okay? But the thing is, if you don't administer that medicine, the only thing they're going to do is just keep on going downhill, okay? So, if you got a diabetic, get with your school nurse so we can talk about the 504, we can talk about whatever health plan they have. That can be also the counselor at the school. Make sure your questions are answered. The other medicine, which I always have a hard time pronouncing, is Basquini. And as of right now, we don't have anybody in our district that has that. The school hasn't started. And that is, you mix the medicine, I think you push it together, and the medicine will go into their nose, okay? The thing about anything that goes into the nose, the rescue medicine, you never prime it, okay? You just get the device into their nose and you squirt it into their nose, okay? So, any nasal medications, do you prime it? No, never prime it, you just squirt it. You just push it, activate it, and get it into their nose. If you squeeze it before you put it in their nose, you've lost the medicine, or life-saving. All right, questions on diabetes. So, before school starts, they get on your bus, and you know you got a diabetic, say, hey, did you eat this morning? You know, and it kind of just gives you an idea, it kind of sets the precedent of, you know, what you might be facing with. But low blood sugar is easy to fix. You just got to either eat and not get too much, make sure they're not getting too much insulin. Here's some more other reasons that you might have a low blood sugar. Too little food, delay in receiving a snack or meal, increased physical activity, illness at times, alcohol use, and students administering insulin without eating. And that's probably one of the most common reasons they'll have a low blood sugar on the bus in the mornings. Okay, told you all about this. And it is parents' responsibility to bring all of the diabetics supplies to the school. We don't supply because they have to have it anyways to maintain life. We talked about the glucagon injection. Do you have any questions on that? And this is the Basquini. We'll go over that during the training. It is FDA approved for 4 and older. It's just to the nose. Again, we don't prime any nasal medications. Okay, you just put it into their nose. All right. How many in here has had EpiPen? I think I asked this question earlier. EpiPen is given for what? Why would you give someone epinephrine? Allergic reaction. What are some things that you can be allergic to? Bees. That's a very common thing you might need to be worried about on the bus, right?
Peanuts.
Huh?
Peanuts.
Peanuts, yes. So there are certain foods, which they shouldn't be eaten on the bus, but, I mean, kids are kids, okay? We usually tell our diabetics not to bring any kind of peanut butter or anything like that, so we try to be as nut-free school as possible. But you can have a food allergy, you can have an insect allergy, you can have a latex allergy, several different things that you can be allergic to. Some people are just allergic and they have no idea what they're allergic to, okay? But they have an EpiPen that's prescribed to them. So what are some signs and symptoms of someone having an allergic reaction? Swelling. I'm sorry. Breathing, swelling. They can have some stomach issues. They can be itching. If they have one prescribed, we need to be watching them, okay? Because, you know, it could go from that to severe within 5 seconds. It can happen really, really quick, or it can be delayed. So here are some of the symptoms: itching, swelling, difficulty breathing, increased heart rate, severe sense of impending doom, abdominal cramps, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, weakness, collapse, paleness, lightheadedness, and loss of consciousness. None of those sound good, but all that stuff can be reversed very, very quickly if they have an EpiPen. Where is the common place to have an EpiPen administered? Thigh only. Pants on, pants off? It doesn't matter, okay? Don't take the pants off, just administer it through their pants. I do suggest avoid that scene, but administer that EpiPen. But before you do that, you see someone's having an allergic reaction, who are you going to call? Call for help, call for 911. What's the next thing you want to do? Okay, after you get the dispatch, what are you going to do? Exactly, like I said, you're multitasking all at the same time. So you're calling for help, 911 dispatch, and getting that bus to a safe position. Once that bus is safe position, and you've got eyes on that kid, what are you going to do? You're going to know where that EpiPen's at. Hopefully it's in the backpack or in their purse. And then what are you going to do from there? Yeah, so you got your device in your hand, orange to the thigh, blue to the sky, okay? Just remember it that way. So where's the orange going to go? To the thigh. And then you're going to remove the cap. Always double check, make sure it's trained. So go to the thigh. What will we do with the blue? Take it off. Once I take it off, I'm going to push hard, hear it click, and then you're going to count to 3 or 5 or 10. The thing is, you want to count long enough, because what's happening during that time? Once that click goes through, the needle is getting injected into the muscle, and then there's a plunger inside that's pushing that medicine. So that's why you have a time at 3 to 5 seconds or 10. Okay? It depends on what device. I'm all about 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After you do that, what are you going to do? Remove it, the device, and what are you going to do? Rub that side. You're going to rub it. You just push the big needle into their muscle. So give them some comfort. Rub that in there. What position will you have them laying in? A side position. Why is that? Because if they start getting sick, if they start throwing up, anytime that your body goes from a low to a high, you're probably going to get sick. Okay? So they went from a low heart rate, they're going to a high heart rate, because that's what an EpiPen does. So what's going to happen? They're probably going to get sick. So have them automatically laying on their side. You might have to put up one of their legs so they don't roll on over. And then stay with them, give them comfort. You also got to do crowd control anytime you do emergency medicine. You got to figure out where are the kids. They got to put the phones up so you know you'll be going over all of that stuff later. Once the 911 gets there, what are you going to do? They're going to take over. You're going to give them the medicine, and they're going to tell you what to do. Okay? There's some other medicines called an Auvi-Q. They all have the same thing inside of these medicines, and it's called epinephrine. Okay, Auvi-Q, it will talk to you. It's a little square rectangle. Boys can put in the back of their pockets. The easiest thing. Once you pull the cap, guess what? It talks to you. It tells you step by step, and the nurses have that as training devices at their stations when you get to that. So there are different forms and different ways of giving these medicines. But remember, where is EpiPens always given? Thigh only. All right. What about glucagon? What's glucagon for? For low blood sugars when they cannot talk to you. Okay? And who is that? That's your diabetics. Who are you going to ask about your diabetics and your EpiPens? You're going to talk to the nurse. Okay? Talk to the nurse, talk to the counselors, because they're going to have a plan. Any questions on that? It is not necessary to remove a student's clothing before administering EpiPen auto injector. EpiPen's only good for 10 to 15 minutes, okay? What happens after that? Well, if you fixed them, then they're probably going to just resume to be a act normal. If it's a really bad reaction, they could have another reaction. That's why you've got to talk to your nurses about each individual kid, and the parents will be able to be part of those meetings. So that's why you want to have who at your side? 911. Our schools do have EpiPens in our schools. They are for undiagnosed kids. We do have 2 adults and 2 juniors because they do come in different strengths. That can be discussed into our groups. But just know that if you are sitting at the bus loop and you see someone, and they don't have it, we do have EpiPens in our schools. That's what they're for. That is a grant-funded thing. So if you, that's not for, Johnny, you have a nut allergy, it's supposed to have an EpiPen. We're going to use it if we need to. But it's for if I ate a nut and I got anaphylaxis, that EpiPen can be used on me. Storage. How many of you ever had parents say, hey, can you keep my kids' medicine on your bus? If you ever, I'm sure someone came up to you and asked you that. Do not keep any medicine on your bus. Okay? Why is that? The number one thing, is temperature control. How hot and how cold does those buses get? There's no happy medium, is there? So medicines, it's even like they shouldn't even keep it in their glove box of their car, okay? So rule number 1, medicine should never be kept on your bus. Your uncle, aunt, granny, whatever, that medicine, because you don't want to hold that liability of that medicine being on your bus, okay? I'm sorry about this, but we're always dealing with this. All right, how many's ever dealt with seizures on the bus? Hopefully you haven't had a seizure on the bus, but you might have kids that are at risk of having seizures. Does all seizures need to have emergency medicines? No. Not all seizures need to have emergency medicines. Medications for seizures, they are caused by brief disruption in the brain electrical activity. They can have altered or loss of awareness, shaking, convulsions, confusions, or sensory experiences. Seizures, there's many different forms of seizures. You can have some that has a blank stare. You can have some that does what I call the all body movement, shaking, convulsion type things. Some of it can be the right side, left side. Seizures can come in all different forms and ways. So if someone had a seizure on your bus, what would be the first thing you would want to do? Do your normal 911 dispatch and get the bus to a safe position. All right, once you've done that, you go to the kid. Do you ever put anything in their mouth? No, never put anything in their mouth, because if they bite down, whatever you put in their mouth will probably go down in their airway, and then you've got another issue, okay? So nothing in the mouth. What if they have a face mask and neck thing around their face? What do you do with that? Try to get it off of them, loosen it up. If they've got a necktie, if they've got necklaces or anything like that that looks like it's a choking hazard, try to loosen it up. Okay. Do you ever restrain a kid that is having a seizure? Never. Okay. The reason why is because you could cause more harm by like maybe breaking a bone or something like that. You don't restrain them. Okay. But you do protect them. I mean, you're on a bus. You've got all these seats and you've got all the metal on the floor that's holding the seats. So what do? grab backpacks, grab a jacket, grab something, prop their head, so they're not banging their head. Find ways to protect them, but don't restrain them, okay? What should be the first thing that if someone's calling you out, if you're calling dispatch and say, hey, Amy's having a seizure, we need to know what time, okay? Which they're real good about right time. Time is an essence, okay? Because if they have emergency medicine, we need to know if it's been 5 minutes. If you've ever seen a seizure, 30 seconds can seem like an eternity, just like this meeting, right? So 30 seconds can seem like an eternity. But that's different. But 5 minutes, oh my goodness, you're never thinking it's going to be there in time, okay? So you got to know the time, okay? So whenever they call dispatch, say, okay, it's 2:06. Okay, ambulance is on their way, you've got the bus in a safe position. You're not putting anything in their mouth, you're not putting anything around their neck, you're listening, you're protecting their head, you're protecting everything. You got them laying on their side. You've got kids putting their phones up so they're not left their phones, okay? That's something that I don't know how you deal with that, but you've got about 10 things to do. You always have that responsible kid on the bus. You can ask, I would think you can ask them, hey, can you help me? Can you make a human wall or whatever? When someone has a seizure, they don't really realize what's going on, okay? They can have accidents on themselves. They can pee on themselves. They can poop on themselves. They can throw up. They can do all that stuff because they have no idea. They got all this crazy stuff that's going on in their head that's firing, not normal, okay? So we've got to slow that down and to have emergency medicine, okay? But emergency medicine, if they're prescribed that, it usually takes about 5 minutes before you can administer it. But kids can be different. That's why you got to talk to who? Talk to the nurse, talk to the counselors, talk to them so we can get together and talk. Some kids, they need it within 3 minutes, some needs it within 5 minutes if they have emergency medicine. What is one of the emergency medicines that you can give? Is Dostat. It is the cheaper one, okay, I will say that. It has a longer shelf life. It has a shelf life of almost like 3 to 4 years, okay? So, it does not need to be in a hot vehicle at all, because if it is left in a hot vehicle, just knowing by what's happened in the past, is that the medicine will leak out into the box, okay, because it is a gel, it's a suppository, okay? Alright, so look at this. So you have someone that's having a seizure, you've activated help, you've got help on the way, you've got the bus safe, you've got the kid laying in a soft position, and it's been 5 minutes. And you've got your Dostat. What are you going to do? You're going to open up the container, the box, and I'll tell you, I like having them in a Ziploc bag, and the reason why, with that Ziploc, and I'll put a packing tape on it, There you go. How many of you has ever used like toothpaste, and you squirted too fast, or if you've ever had a cough, like a cracking in the house or whatever, you do it too fast, it goes everywhere, but if you do a slow consistency, and you wait before you pull that device away, guess what? It's not smooth. That's the whole thing you gotta think of. You do it slow and consistent, give it time, and then pull it out, okay? That gives it time for medicine to go through. And then come on up. So that's one emergency medicine that we have out there. We have a new one that's been out for a while. Parents have been wanting this medicine FDA approved. Parents have been wanting this medicine FDA approved, and guess what? It's finally been approved for 12 years and older, okay? And it's called intranasal Versed, okay? The ones that you're going to actually see is, there's several different ways of getting it. I'm just going to go over the basic one, and it's the one that just goes into your nose. And it's a device that looks like this. It'll come into a box. And then what do? You have a kid that's having a seizure. It's been 5 minutes or whatever's been prescribed for that kid. You're going to have a one. Nothing in their mouth, nothing around their neck. They're doing the whole seizure precaution thing. This is going to go into their nose, and you squirt. Okay? After you do that, you might have to do the other nose. It depends. You got to look at the doctor. That's why you got to go to the nurse if you have any of these medicines to make sure you see that it's going by. Much easier, right? You're going to see this more and more. I think the shelf life of this one is a year. It is a little bit more expensive. Again, we can't push it, but a lot of parents are really wanting this one just because they're 12 and up. You're not exposing their bottom. It's been a big social issue, and I get that. There is another one that has been, and I can't go over each of the medicines because that kind of is file 13. Pull it out when you need it. But just remember, emergency medicine saves lives. If you have it and you don't use it, how are we going to explain that to the parents? We're not going to be able to explain it to the parents. Everything is by time. Okay, so when you call for help, someone's going to be writing down that time. And know whenever it's a certain time frame, like for instance the seizure, you've got 5 minutes. That's a long time. Get your medicines ready, get your kid ready, and then administer it. Make sure 911. Who are you going to give those emergency medicines to? You're always going to give them back to 911 and say, hey, Amy gave this at 2:06. This is, and they'll answer all the questions. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else about emergency medicines that you all have that I haven't covered? Yes, ma'am.
BMS. BMS allows for migrant procedures.
EMS?
BMS.
VNS, okay. So we do have some kids that have seizures that have what we call a vagal nerve stimulator, okay? And it's a magnet. So if they have that, if you know a kid that has seizures and that had that, we've got to go over that. And that's just a magnet that goes over that magnet. It's a magnet that deactivates that. We'll go over that individually, okay? But not everybody requires that. That's why emergency medicines is not set for everybody, because it depends on what kind of seizures that they're having, okay? So if you have emergency medicines on your bus, know to go to your nurse, go to your counselor, find somebody at school, and know how to handle them, okay? They can carry their medicines with them, but it's going to be written in their plan. If they can't carry on in, then it's got to be with an adult. If someone hands you medicine, you take it and you give it. You know what the policy and procedure, we like everything in an envelope. What else? I see a bunch of sleepy people. We're sorry.
If you have a student on the bus that requires one of these emergency medicines, you'll know about it, okay? They'll let you know.
Yeah.
So you're not going to come in and find out all of a sudden somebody hollers back up there and says, he's having a seizure. Now, that may happen, it may be the first one they've ever had, okay? And in that case, you just pull over, call the ambulance, and get to there as soon as possible. But if there's a known student on there, they're gonna have a medical meeting with all the people, schools, the nurse, and they're gonna go over a plan, and you're gonna have that plan. You're gonna know what to do. So it's not gonna just happen that, uh-oh, got emergency, I gotta do this. You're gonna know who the child is, you're gonna know what the procedure is and what your part is in it. So don't worry about that, unless you got one.
And that's the thing, it can happen to anybody. It can happen to you. That's the thing. I mean, it can happen to anybody. Emergencies can happen. But the ones that we know about, we're just a little bit up the ante. We know what to do. We know who they are. So, you know, when it's the first couple of days of school, you know, and you're sitting at the bus loop because you're waiting for school to end, you know, go and talk to the nurse. Hey, do you know anything that I might need to know on the bus? You might need to show her your roster. I don't know. Talk to them. They will help you. Okay? Yes, sir.
I had a case where I did not get any information about a kid having any kind of allergies, but on their emergency card, the parents listed under the medical conditions, severe allergic reaction to these things. Because I didn't get any information on that, I went ahead and turned that into the nurse, because they probably didn't know how to either.
Right.
Because otherwise, as Tyler said, you guys communicate with us very well. If you are aware of things, and if it hadn't been on the emergency card at all, I wouldn't know.
And that's a good point, man. Everybody, okay, you're gonna have your emergency cards. Where's that located at? It's on the back. They put that emergency, that you're allergic, or they have an epidemic or something like that, that would be one sign. So make sure you check those, and get those filled out. Okay?
And that's the thing. How many in here has ever signed a kid in for school? How many papers do you fill out? Well, if you have like as many kids as Todd has, I mean, think about how much paper you're going to forget to fill something out. Okay.
I got 3 left.
I only have one. And so, you know, I'm like, you know how, and then when I talk to like people that's got multiple kids, like, oh my gosh, how do you do it? So it's all about open communication, okay? It's not ever somebody's fault or anything. Just say, hey, you know, I looked at emergency cards and so has this. Is there anything I need to know? Did you all know this? Open communication. That's the only way we're going to fix things like this, okay? Any other questions? Okay. Nurses, can you think of anything? All right, so what we can do, I can keep on going and talking about CPR and bloodborne pathogens, and then take a break, and then we can break off then. Do you want to do that?
Yes.
And Sharon, will you take my key outside, or go outside and meet me?
Is he out there? Oh, he's gone.
Okay. All right, let's go over bloodborne pathogens. How many here has ever had to deal with blood on the bus? How many's ever had a fight on the bus? Okay, maybe I need to say it that way. Just know if you need to have gloves on. That's your number one defense, is having gloves on, okay? So I don't know if you have a stash of gloves on the bus or what, but you know your buses, you know who your fighters, you know who your nose bleeders are, you know who your nose pickers are, and so forth. So you know if you're going to deal with blood or not. So have your gloves available if you have any. If you don't have any, go in, talk to your nurse. We'll give you a couple pair of gloves. Awesome. So number one, what are you going to have on? Gloves. All right, you get blood on you, what's the first thing you should do? You report it, but you want to go wash with soap and water as soon as possible, okay? You got hand sanitizer, that's great, but you got to do that good old hand washing with soap and water, okay? I would say do that and then report it unless it's still, the fight's still going on. So just know, does bloody stuff like gauze, blood, stuff just go into a trash can? No. No, it's gotta go into a what? A biohazard box, okay? It's, and you all got that covered, okay? If you get stuck, for instance, if you do have a diabetic on your bus, okay, because things can happen. They have to check their blood sugar sometimes with and they have to prick their finger with a needle, okay? Sometimes stuff just is unzipped, okay? Just know where those diabetics sit and you be a little extra careful. I've only known this has probably happened once every other year or something like that. They'll go and they'll clean off the bus and they'll get stuck with one of those little needles. Know where your diabetics sit. I'm not saying that they'll do that intentionally or anything, just saying that's always, I know that's happened once or twice in the few years that I've been doing this. But if you get stuck with a needle, what happens? What do you need to do? You let dispatch, you let your supervisors know, and then they're going to contact me. We got paperwork, and then we'll have you to go to a clinic to have some blood work done, and then we'll go from there. Okay? It happens. It all works out. We have a plan to take care of that. But just know that your action is if you get stuck with a used needle, you got to let somebody know. You let your supervisor know. They will get up with me as the health coordinator, and we'll get you ready. We'll get some paperwork started and get you some help. Just know soap and water. Anytime you get blood on you or stuck or whatever, hang soap and water and ask for help. All right. If you get hit by a student and it breaks the skin, that is an incident report. We got to get that written up and get you seen by a doctor so you can get some blood work. Same thing as if you got a needle stick. Okay, so just know how to handle that stuff. But again, there's 3 different types of viruses that's out there: hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and HIV. We don't know if any kid has any of that stuff, and guess what? That's irrelevant. Okay. Because why? You still treat them just as you would treat anybody else, okay? You gotta what? You deal with blood, you gotta have gloves on. If you get blood on you, you wash it and you record it. If you get broken skin, and by a needle or by a bite mark or whatever, we gotta get that reported, okay? We gotta treat everybody the same. So just because you've never been, doesn't mean you don't know what they have, okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so you know what to do, how to respond if needed. Okay. CPR. Do I have any people that know CPR, that does CPR? You may volunteer for the fire department. Okay, so more likely you've done that, you've done some CPR. I do have a video, if I can get to it. Hands-only CPR. What is that used for? What's CPR used for?
Resuscitates.
Someone that is not breathing, their heart stopped. What could be some of those causes? Someone just had a heart attack. It could be some different things, right? Okay, so flip through here. Oh, my. I think y'all get on that screen and get it to where it's on presenter. Present. Thank you. And then scroll down to where it says, flip the page down until it gets close to hands-only CPR. As you can tell, there's a lot of different medicines out there, but it's best when you get in small groups to talk about it. But again, CPR is life-saving. Anybody can do it. What we teach you is hands-only CPR. So if you find someone that's unresponsive and you shake them and they're not breathing, they're not responding, then the first thing you want to do is put your hands in the center of their chest, push hard and push fast. If you go to a CPR certification, we'll teach you how to do the breathing as well. So if you find someone unresponsive and you shout and shout and they're not responding, what would you do? Call for help. Once you call for help, they're going to ask you what you need help for. I've got someone that's unresponsive, that's not breathing. And they're going to say, do you know CPR? And they're probably, I don't have to do hands-only CPR. And it's like, okay. They're going to walk you through it when you talk to 911. Once you,
I don't see the CPR yet, Amy. Do you know what it's after?
we can get back there and it's on the training.
What do you want to have?
Shrink it off presenter. And it's under required training, CPR, and should be a philosopher. This is Perry's video. Perry does that for us. All right. Okay. 2 steps. It all takes to save a life. Now. But it's not going to let me do it. Association has changed to the point over the years has found that hands-only CPR is what can save lives. Anybody can save a life. Used to, you had to go 2 or 3 days to get CPR certified. We're just going to train you on how to do CPR. Okay, it's very convenient. You use it. When you do your compressions, it goes along to. Have you ever heard the song "Staying Alive"? I'm not going to sing for you. Todd. You're good? Okay. Okay, there you go. Okay, there you go. Oops, don't lie. All right, hands-only CPR. Hands-only CPR versus CPR with breaths. They're saying if you do chest compressions, that is one of the best things to do. Now, you can focus on your breathing and stuff, but you're only spend 10 seconds on your breathing. Compressions. So you have someone that's unresponsive, who you're going to call, you're going to call 911. You're going to get them laying down to a firm position on a firm flat surface. Why do you want a firm flat surface? If you're doing CPR while they're laying on the bed or laying on the couch or laying in the seat, and this is something that you take home. You just don't keep this for the bus. You take this home. You put them on a firm flat surface because when you're getting to do the next step of compressions, you want that compression to go straight to the heart, okay? You don't want that compression to push them into that mattress or push them into that couch. You want it to be straight to the heart. And when you push it straight to the heart on a firm surface, that's where it's going to go. Does that make sense? All right, so it's kind of like if they're asleep in bed and they're not breathing, you jerk them off that bed and you get them in the floor and you do compressions, okay, to the heart. All right, and it goes right in the center and it's
If you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, it's important to act fast. Helping to save a life is easier than you might think. Just start hands-only CPR. The first step is to send someone to call your local emergency response number or call it yourself. Then get directly over the victim. Put the heel of one hand in the center of the chest, then put your other hand on top of the first. Then push hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives. It's important to push, giving 100 to 120 compressions per minute, which is about the same tempo as this song. Let's hope you never have to use hands-only CPR. But if you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, don't be afraid to try it. Remember, call your local emergency number, then push hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives. Your actions can help save a life. To learn more, visit international.heart.org.
I'm going to go on for about another 30 seconds. But you'll keep on doing CPR, just like what we're doing, okay? That's all. Did that seem hard? But I'll tell you, if it's outside in the heat, it's going to be hot. I will tell you, your high school students, it is required that they go through a CPR class, okay? So if you have older kids, and this video is going to start being shared out. I know kids at McDaniel's go through it, day treatment goes through it. It's required before you graduate, you go through this. So kids are going to know how to do CPR, okay? If you're getting where you physically cannot, and an ambulance is not there, another older kid will probably be able to help, okay? And that's all they're doing. They're just pushing hard and pushing fast, okay? You just do it in your chest. Now, if you have not been certified, there's a difference between training and certified. Certified, we can teach you about breathing, we can teach you about other things, okay? But that is all you have to do. Call for help and get in the middle of the chest and push hard and push fast. Get them on a firm surface, okay? Remember, for laying in bed, laying on the couch, laying in the seat of your bus, get them to that floor. What happens if all of a sudden they feel awake and they're alive? What are you going to do? You're going to stop. You're going to roll them into what position? Side. Always put them in the sideline position. Someone has a seizure and they come through, what position are you going to put them in? You always put them in the side. If someone in EpiPen, what position are you going to put them in? Okay, you put them in the side. Okay. If they want to sit in a chair and their head hang over, they just got to be able, if they throw up, they can expel that from their body. Okay. All right. So you have medication questions. Who are you going to ask? Ask the school nurse. If you can't find the nurse, find the principal. That principal will get a hold. Or even dispatch. They know our numbers. They can get a hold of us. Okay. Do you take delegation from a parent? No. Just say, I'll take the medicine. I'll take the kid. I'll get them to school, and the school will call you. Okay. We try to take all that responsibility off of you. You have blood on the bus. What's the first thing you want to have on your hands? Gloves. Where do you put your bloody products? In biohazard bags, exactly. If you get bitten or stuck with a needle, what are you going to do? Wash your hands with soap and water while you're calling somebody so we can get this reported. Okay? All right. If you have a diabetic on the bus, where do they need to sit? Do they need to sit in the front or the back? Is it okay to talk to that kid in the morning and say, hey, have you had your breakfast this morning? Yes, talk to them, know these kids, because you're the first smiling face they're going to see. We don't know what they've went through, so make it enjoyable for them. If you have a kid that has is allergic to bees and they get stung, do you automatically just give them the EpiPen? No. You call for help, and then we will talk you through it. If they start having trouble with breathing or signs of impending doom, what would you do? You administer the EpiPen. Where do you administer the EpiPen? Thigh only. Do you have to pull their pants down to get it? No. Glucagon. If you have to draw that up in a syringe, do you take the syringe? Where do you put that syringe after you administer it? In that box, because that will protect the sharp. Okay. Seizures. Do you put anything in their mouth? No. Question.